Recently I recorded this video of Blackberry Blossom, and in it I played the tune 2 times through. The first time a basic presentation of the melody. The second time through I was leveraging triads to come up with the variation. And then this lesson we're going to dig into that variation, take a look at the triads and what I was thinking and some tips so that you too can play that variation. If you'd like to get the tab, check the links below. There's a couple options and I really appreciate the support. All right, so let's dig into the A section of the second break. Let me play it slowly for you. So let's look at what's going on there. First of all, I said we're focusing on triads, and the triads shapes that I'm using here, this one for G, this for D, C, and when we come back to G, I'm here. Now, to connect those, I'm using open strings to help facilitate that transition from one chord to the next. So the line actually starts on this D, which is, as you can see, it's not part of that triad shape. It would actually be the top note of this root position triad. But we start here. I'm using that open string. That's going to let my hand shift to this D chord. And then I'm landing here on the 5th of the D chord. Right? So it looks like this. I'm using that open string again because I'm going to be shifting down to this C chord. So let's look at that, all three of those together. Open string, and now I'm on this C chord. So let's put all that together. And I'm landing then on that G chord, which we roll through that. So besides this being a good triad workout, this is going to be also a good pick hand workout. I'm strictly down up with that. So down strokes on the down part of the beat, up strokes on the up part, 1 and 2 and down, up, down, up. Now here on the third measure of this, it's a C sus2 chord really is what's happening. So think of it, we're out of this C chord. Instead of the root 3rd 5th, I'm playing the root 2nd 5th. And that moves nicely into that G chord. So really we've got two notes that carry over. And it's a bit of a cross-picking exercise right there. So there's some syncopation built in. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that's a good exercise right there just to play that one measure. Make sure you're comfortable with that. Now here we get into rootless voicing. Really, the chord is A, but we're playing an A7 chord here. And this may or may not be a familiar shape, but what we're doing is C sharp, E, G. So this is the 3rd, 5th, and the flat 7 of an A chord. Then it's not an exact shift down 1 fret. We have to change 1 note, and that sets us up nicely for this D7 chord. So we've got the flat 7, root, and the 3rd. I think it's a really fun sound, cool sound. Very smooth voice leading there, where in this case the flat 7 of the A moves 1/2 step and it lands on the 3rd of the D chord. The 5th of the A7 chord moves to the root of the D chord. Get that sound. The 3rd of the A7 chord moves to the flat 7 of the D7. So the 3rd and the 4th measure of this A section sounds like this. So the cross-picking part into this A7 and D7. And here I land on a quarter note. This gives me a little bit of a moment to shift up to this D so I can start that run all over again. Cross-picking. So the key takeaways here, make sure that you've got your triad shapes. And I would make that an exercise if you're uncomfortable with that. If that's not smooth for you, sit and just play that. And then the C sus2. So you're essentially blocking out these triad shapes and making sure that you've got the muscle memory there before you start adding in the pick hand and putting it all together. So that's a good breakdown of the A section. Let's take a look at the B section now. All right, now let's break down the B section. A lot of E minor here in the B section. Most of it's E minor, so we're going to be using a lot of triads that are E minor triad inversions. This is our first one, root position. Our second inversion down here at the 3rd fret. It's really a 4-note version here, and we land on this open position, E minor. Like the A section, we jump up, grab a note as we come down and kind of cascade through. So I'll put it all together and then we can take a look at what's going on with the open strings and the picking here. And we'll stop there. The chord that I land on when it finishes the 4th measure of this section is a B augmented. If we look at the music, we've got a B7 chord is listed. It's common we're playing. So this B augmented is kind of a cool sound that you can put over top of that. And then we start the run back over. Here, the song wraps up with a C chord. So I'm using this triad inversion. Grab a G chord here, and then it's a line that finishes it out. But if you wanted to play triads there, you could do something like that, or okay, so open strings. We're using open strings like we did in the A section to connect these E minor chords. So as I pick through this B string, the 2nd string is the open string that I'm going to use to transition from the 7th fret down to the 3rd fret. So let's look at that. You see, I led with this first finger. I let that slide along the string to help connect, but this open string is ringing, so I've still got some sound going on there. So this one, that could be a good picking exercise as well, as you're moving from 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th strings. Let's look at that all together. And then we get our 1st string is what was going to allow us to get out of this 3rd position down to our open position. So we come off of this. In fact, we've got 3 open strings in a row. That's an E minor triad right there, and we land on this root. Now, as we start to climb back up the neck, we've got some syncopation that's going on because we're doing 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's take a peek at that. Open string gives us the opportunity to transition. We land on this B here, fretted, and then up to this in the root position. And then we get that B augmented. So let me put that all together. And those few notes just help to jump out of the arpeggiation that's going on there, give us a little connection in a linear fashion, and then we start it all over again. Back up to the 12th fret. Put that together one more time. Now, things to think about as you're doing the B section and connecting those triads. Like we did in the A section, make sure that you can block them out. And that is comfortable. The other thing that I find that I don't pick my fingers up and then land on the next destination or the next inversion. If a finger can stay on a string when I transition from one place to the next, I'm going to let them glide along. Especially this first finger here between this root position and this second inversion. I guess the third finger does as well. Trying to stay close to the frets. If I lift up, jump, and then land, I find my accuracy may not be what I want it to be. Something that helps me a lot is to keep close to the strings if I can, even keeping a finger on a string if it makes sense to do so. I'm not going to force that because that could create another tension point and make it more difficult. So if it helps you, go ahead and try it out. It works for me, and it keeps the fingers close to the fingerboard. All right. So there's your A section and B section. We're hanging out with triads on this one. Check out the links below for getting a hold of the tab, and we'll see you in the next lesson.